Yes, now ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Thomas Fans YouTube channel. I'm actually making the videos that I should have made a long time ago. It is Monday, which means Saturday night's main event has happened, and I am yet to make a reaction to NXT, let alone SmackDown and Night of Champions. I did upload my Raw reactions, and I did upload my Night of Champions predictions, but this video will be my brief NXT reactions. Not that it's going to mean anything, but I don't like to miss a week, so I don't want to miss it, so I'm going to get it out and you're going to hear it, and then probably in 2 days time you're going to hear the next episode of NXT and my review for it. So immediately, Stacks Lorenzo was supposed to face Noam Dar for the Heritage Cup Championship. Noam Dar is now injured, so WWE worked their magic and they decided to use the feud in that title match and had the Tony D'Angelo Stacks Lorenzo rematch. And then obviously when Luca is trying to prove that he's loyal to Tony D'Angelo, he ends up accidentally costing Tony D'Angelo, and Stacks is the new Heritage Cup champion. Love this because they're trying to build Stacks as a solo superstar and as a heel, putting a Heritage Cup championship on him. Perfect. And he's beat Tony D'Angelo again. He's probably going to try and transcend Tony D'Angelo, and he did sprinkle a bit of my consigliere. He called Luca his consigliere, so this is building the Luca and Tony trusting. Originally, beginning the night, Tony was fine with Luca. He thought, you know what, you got me in this match, I appreciate you. But it didn't end that way. It didn't end well, and I'm loving how they're playing out this story. They're not dragging it. It's actually making sense. Then we had a bit of a backstage segment where, you know, obviously Zaruka have been going around as a tag team and have been trying to recruit or at least befriend Tatum Paxley, you know, like just kind of figure out what's wrong with her. Izzy Dame's been trying to get into her head, and this is when Izzy Dame did get into her head. She said, "You're coming ringside with me tonight," because she's had a big fatal four-way match, and you shouldn't listen to Zaruka, you know, because they're just bad friends. So Tatum Paxley did, and she joined Izzy Dame and the Culling, and all the Culling said and Sean Spears said was, "Who's this?" And she goes, "This is my friend Tatum." And he went, "Great," because Sean Spears has now got this new trust for Izzy Dame, because Izzy Dame is coming in, she's shed the loose weight and Brooks Jensen, and she's proven herself. So by bringing Tatum Paxley and just adding something to the Culling, and I always said Tatum Paxley, because they planted the seeds from day one, I always said Tatum Paxley would be great in the Culling. It's something for her to do, and a bit of a twisted character. She works. So I'm glad they're doing that. Then the feud between Ricky Sainz and Ethan Page begins to build, or well, continues to build, as Ricky Sainz had a match with Ashanti the Adonis. I can't remember if he won or if it was DQ, but him and Ethan Page keep fighting. And this is when Ava's getting involved and she's saying, "Look, we really need to do something about this." And as she was talking to Ethan Page about that backstage, she then had to deal with an issue where Hank and Tank had been beaten up and they didn't know by who. Hank and Tank are hurt. I don't know if they'll drop the titles or what. But my guess is well, originally I wanted to say Dark State, because obviously they run Rampage and they beat people up and they prove themselves. But I'm kind of seeing the seeds for Yoshiki Inamura and Josh Briggs. They're coming back to win the tag team titles. Both men are trying to aim for the TNA World title and the NXT title. But now that they're a tag team, I feel like they want to get ahead of Hank and Tank and they want to take the titles. And to do that, because Hank and Tank are their friends, they'd have to beat them up. So I have a sneaking suspicion they're going to build it as Dark State, but it's really Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura, which I don't mind. That's pretty cool. And then we had Josh Briggs versus Trick Williams for the TNA World title, which Yoshiki promised Josh Briggs after Yoshiki pinned Trick in the 6-man tag 2 weeks ago or last week. He said, "You know what, Josh, I want to give this opportunity for you because I want to aim for the NXT title." And I didn't mind it because Josh Briggs and Trick Williams put on a good match. I feel like Inamura could put on a better one, but I think Inamura versus Obafemi makes more sense. Obafemi needs opponents as the NXT champion, and he needs someone powerful, someone who can prove himself in the ring, and Inamura has definitely proved himself in the ring. Might not prove himself as a star, but in the ring definitely has, and I feel like Inamura and Obafemi's the next place to go, especially when Obafemi's just jumping between match to match. Every couple of weeks he's getting a new opponent, because there's no real stars on NXT right now. There's about 5, and that is Javon Evans, who's tied up with the new Quarter Catch crew, Obafemi, who's the NXT champion, Trick Williams, who's the TNA World champion, Ricky Sainz and Ethan Page, who are fighting over the North American title. So I like that they're putting more opponents out there. But Trick Williams beat Josh Briggs, and I can imagine Inamura won't beat Obafemi. So they'll prove that they can't really get it as solo stars, and then they'll kind of go on their revenge tour, and this is when they'll go after Hank and take the titles, and I can't wait for it. Speaking of Javon, we did have Javon versus Tavion Heights. Obviously, it was the match where if Tavion beat Javon, he would be free of New Quarter Catch Crew, but Javon couldn't just let Tavion pin him. Javon somehow had to be competitive, and even though he's backing Tavion, still has to beat him. So Javon beat Tavion Heights, which is a shame for Tavion Heights, which means he's got to stay with New Quarter Catch Crew. But I suppose the Conno split up, and Miles Bone split up for a reason, because they're trying to build him as a star, even though they've not put him in a match. They just put him in a promo, like an advertisement promo, not a promo. Dead weird. Finally, the main event was the Fatal 4-Way, where the winner will face JC Jane at Evolution. The Fatal 4-Way being the 4 women who won matches last week: Jada Parker, Lash Legend, Izzy Dame, and Jordan Grace. And you can imagine who got the win. It's Jordan Grace. And I can imagine that Evolution Jordan Grace is going to become the NXT Women's Champion. That's where they're leading. I feel like JC Jane was the transitional champion to kind of beat Stephanie Vaquer and cause the shock factor, but at Evolution they want the title to change hands, they want something big, and they want a woman like Jordan Grace who defies odds to represent Evolution and win that NXT Women's Championship. Decent episode of NXT. I watched it in quite a rush, so I did speed it up, but it was just I feel like it was minimal segments and about 5 matches. It was great. It was brilliant. Perfect. That's how I like NXT. But thank you all so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.